In this video, we'll look at the painting People with Half Faces by Karl Stojka, the first Romani artist to capture the experience of imprisonment in the concentration camps of Nazi Germany in 1942-1945. Stojka confronts the bodily schemas and narratives of prejudice against European Roma and Sinti by interweaving striking imagery, colors, and composition to humanize crimes against victims of concentration camps, himself included, and effectively voice the prevalent invisibility of this ethnic minority group within a larger historical discourse. The Roma and Sinti are the largest minority in Europe without a country of their own. In the years of economic crisis and social tensions between the two world wars, the discrimination against the Roma and Sinti increased. In most Western European countries, their image was stereotypically constructed through the so-called gypsy postcards, representing a free way of life. They faced marginalization and exclusion, labeled asocial by Nazis, which culminated in the genocide of around 500,000 people. More than 20,000 Roma and Sinti were put into Auschwitz concentration camp, with 70% dying. To this day, they remain a neglected minority group with an elusive cultural past that started to be represented through literature and art by Karl Stojka and other Roma who survived the Holocaust. Stojka's work speaks to us differently from black and white pictures of Auschwitz that do not have colors full of terror portrayed by the artist. Fiery red color with the brushes of white showcases the gas chambers in the background, juxtaposed against the figures of persecuted Roma, Sinti, and Jewish men trapped inside the black-colored metal constructions. The arrangement of cells challenges the composition of the painting, their widths covering half of the bodies and height reaching just barely above men's heads, bringing the feeling of suffocation. Its atmosphere is characterized by a lack of space, hygiene, and privacy, the absence of basic human needs. The blue-striped uniforms expand diagonally from left to right in a descending manner, creating a sense of infinity beyond the edges of the painting, leaving us with the fear of hundreds of prisoners not captured on canvas. With everyone dressed alike and their belongings taken away, the badges attached on the left, hard side of the clothing are the only indications of prisoners' personalities. Through these labels with encoded personalities, Karl challenges us to look at the human beings beyond the painting. The pre-assigned labels dehumanize prisoners and commodify their bodies as inhumane objects like machinery, mainly used for labor to accelerate the regime's economic policies. This is emphasized with the chaotic brushes of black dirt over men's faces and uniform clothing. One of the victims depicted is Karl himself, with the black patch in the middle. He was 12 years old, while we are seeing the face of an older man covered in dirt. Through a view of an insider, sufferer, and the victim, this symbolizes the individual pain experienced early on and the haunting legacies of the past he carried along. The painting is signed with Stat 5742, Stojka's label from Auschwitz camp, the engraving of the artist suffering next to his signature. The 7 half-faces stare at the viewers with the fear that had to be kept inside, representing the marginalization of the minority of Roma and Sinti. The stare within Garland Thompson's Looking Away, Staring Back is an interpersonal encounter between the starer and the staree, a way of reacting to another. In this artwork, staring raises a social message demanding to acknowledge the crimes that happened under the ethnic cleansing of Nazis. This vividly presented stares of prisoners urge the viewers to stare back, with some silently shouting for help with the frightened looks, or some with facial expressions without presence of life and hope after prolonged fear. The compositions of a closed space forces not only to stare back but to think, look, and act after seeing the loss of individuality, strength, and dignity. For those unaware of the context, the stare is urged to become aware of it immediately and reshape preconceived notions about Roma and Sinti. The empathy and guilt experienced after stares are not enough for the staree, through which Karl Stojka, a Roma rights activist himself, asks to act to stop discrimination, invisibility, and historical silencing of Roma and Sinti. The Nazi Party passed regulations labeling Roma and Sinti as born criminals, arguing that if a Rome had not committed a crime yet, he or she would do so sooner or later as a part of biological inheritance. In their view, intellect, social behavior, and moral values were inherited, and through Stojka's paintings we note how the imprisoned are reduced to non-human objects. Such ideology echoes Judith Butler's essay, where they explain the existence of bodily schemas distorting the perception and reinforcing one's othering. Through Butler's framework, we detect that schemas conceptualize the bodies of Roma and Sinti as always ready to cause harm. The painting's background was fire, and the portrayal of chambers concerned the implications of such schemas, pre-programmed to eliminate inferior races. By making persecuted Romani the center of his painting, Karl humanizes the crime at an expense of showing inhumane conditions, urging to be aware of the Romani genocide and racist persecution in the past to combat existing bodily schemas. Stojka confronts Romani history's invisibility and voices othering of this minority in Europe through striking images of men imprisoned in Auschwitz. He challenges the long-held imagery of the nomadic, romantic, and peaceful life of Roma and Sinti, showing that not all of them lived according to this common image during the 1940s. His painting serves as a legacy for fellow Roma, urging viewers to become aware of the silent histories of persecution during the governance of Nazis and to reshape existing schemas and prejudices against Roma and Sinti.